Hi guys. On today's podcast, we're going to talk about a film called Disaster Artist, which is literally just come out into the cinema. Once again, I haven't actually seen it, but Daryl's seen it recently. I know that it's set in California in the late 90s. It's about two friends that actually go to Hollywood to follow their dreams, which is actually the two friends are played by the Franco brothers. And I think they decide to make their own film. Is that right, Daz? They decide to get because didn't they get rejected by Hollywood or something
basically. So James Franco plays this guy Tommy Wiseau, and they made the real life story of it is that they made this film called The Room back in 2003. And when it came out, like basically now The Room is known as like the best worst film that's ever made.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah, I know.
and basically, The Disaster Artist is about the making of The Room and kind of what happened and how they got started and things. But yeah, basically they move out to California. The main guy that James Franco plays, he writes this film for them to star in, and he basically puts his own money into the film, which is like $6 million.
Apparently like you said, he financed that himself, didn't he? And
yeah.
I was watching an interview actually. Because obviously James Franco, the guy that actually made the film, the one you're talking about, he's actually seen the one that James Franco's done, the Disaster Artist, and I think James Franco was asking him you put $6 million into this, where did you get the money from? And he was saying. Because he used to have selling jeans, like a jeans shop or something, and he's saying, "Oh yeah, I made it selling jeans," and he's like, "What? You made $6 million selling jeans?"
I know, $6 million. I know, yeah. It's all very mysterious, and you still don't really get to find out, where the money came from or anything. He's very sort of secretive about it. He doesn't, and that comes across in the film. There's a couple of scenes where they directly ask him, "Where did you get the money from?" He just won't answer. He just doesn't tell you, but. It's I thought the film was brilliant. It's really well done. It's funny. It's quite tragic. It's sad. It's a really well done film, I think. And I think James Franco's really good in it. There's certain scenes. I don't know. Have you seen The Room or not? Have you seen anything?
No, I haven't. But reading about this film, I did read about that where that. I mean, when I first saw The Room, the name, I was thinking of, is it Room or The Room? There's a new one, isn't there? That's really good, and it won Oscars, and it's got Brie Larson in it, and I thought, hey, that can't be that because that's really good. That, and then so I googled it, and obviously I read a bit about it, and saying obviously it took so many years to make. It was like over 3 years, and that you can tell they're getting older through the actual film because it's shot at different times, and apparently it's really bad acting, the script is really bad and all this sort of thing, and like you said, it's known now for sort of the greatest bad movie ever made.
It's funny because when the Disaster Artist really puts kind of the human element to the Tommy Wiseau character, the guy who actually made The Room. Because when I watched The Room, I just thought this is like a bad TV movie, the way it comes across. It looks really kind of cheaply done, and the acting is it's just not good, and some of it I was just laughing at. But then actually, when I saw The Disaster Artist, and I got really invested in the character, and you learn like how he's gone about making this film and how he's investing his time and money into this. And I actually felt quite bad. I felt quite bad for laughing at the Room, because I thought, he's just a normal guy. He was a guy trying to make a really good film that people could like, and it just completely went on its head.
Yeah, I suppose when you watch it, you don't realise what's gone into it, what he's gone through. I suppose this film,
exactly.
The Disaster Artist, actually sort of shows you that aspect of it, whereas when you see The Room, I suppose you don't really get that. You don't know what he's gone through, what he put into it, how many years. You just look at it and think, oh, this is a terrible film. You don't, but so I suppose that is interesting, really.
And I think it's a really interesting story. I'm not sure that there's another one around like this, where someone's put in all their money they've written, produced, direct, starred in like all their own film.
What do you mean? Rocky? Sylvester Stallone did it with Rocky, didn't he?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But,
yeah, no, that's true. That's a good example. Yeah, but it's just a really kind of bizarre story where it's just you need to see it. Really, it's really good. I'd really recommend it.
I definitely want to see it now. I mean, I'd never heard of it before you actually said about it. But I watched the trailer as well, and I thought, like you were saying about the comical element, I got that from the trailer as well. I thought there was a few scenes in that I thought were quite funny actually, where I think he's in the car and he pulls over and he's talking to that lady and he says he's 19 and he says, "How old are you?" And or something like that, and I thought that was quite funny.
It's just there's so many funny bits like that. I laughed all the way through it, and it's just, I don't know.
And doesn't he keep saying that, like, he's got this obviously quite strong European accent, Eastern European accent, hasn't he? And doesn't he keep saying that he's from America and things like that? Or he tries to
he just claims he's from New Orleans, I think it is. But he talks with a complete European accent, and it's just. But again, it's things like that it's not really addressed in the film, and I can only assume it's because they don't know, they can't get that information out of him, maybe, from when James Franco's talked to him. But it's just, it's bizarre. There's this whole history about his past that he just doesn't go into, and so you're
it's
left
very
with
secretive.
This...
It's quite, I suppose it's quite intriguing, that, isn't it? It's quite, I suppose you want to know that stuff. Really, you probably never really are going to know that, but
no, exactly, yeah.
Like you said about James Franco. I mean, watching the trailer, I thought it looked like he played the part very well. It looked like he's got into the role, and it looks like he's. I mean, I quite like James Franco anyway, because he's one of those actors that gets quite into his roles, doesn't he? Into his parts, and
yeah, he does quite different roles, doesn't he? The way he plays them. I think.
And he gets into the characters, doesn't he? And apparently, because when he was actually directing this, he sort of almost stayed in character when he was directing it and telling people what to do, and they were saying they weren't sure if it was part of the film when he was talking like that, when he's telling them, because he stayed with the accent, or they weren't sure if it was him telling them to actually do something, because he kept, like I said, he kept the accent. So I
can sort of believe that, though, because you hear those stories about James Franco. He seems like quite an artistic kind of actor, doesn't it? He takes his craft to those new levels, sort of thing. So and Seth Rogen's in it as well. He comes into, he's sort of like, he helps make the film, and I think he's really good in it as well, because he questions the script and things, and because there's a couple of scenes where there's quite a sad story being told by some of the other characters, and then James Franco character, he's just he laughs, and all he says is "Oh, that's an amazing story," and it's but everyone there, and even Seth Rogen, they're all like, "What? Why is he what?
Yeah, why is he laughing?"
And they're like, "Yeah, it's quite a sad story," and then they go to shoot it again. Does the same thing again, though. Does exactly the same thing again. It's so funny.
Well, what are you doing? This is a serious movie here. Why are you laughing? You're mocking my material.
It's really funny.
Yeah, it does look good. Like I said, I definitely will watch that now. Definitely, like you said about it. And I looked at the reviews, and it's got. I think Rotten Tomatoes, they give it was it in the 90s? Isn't 90-something%?
Yeah, 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's got 8.3 on IMDb at the moment, which is really good. It's I think it's and I think rightly so as well. I think it's really good. I think it is really well done.
I was watching, like I said in that interview, I was watching James Franco, apparently, because obviously it was him and his brother, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And apparently he's offered roles to his brother before. He's wanted them to work together for a long time, but his brother, never, always turned it down. He said no, and they're sort of joking about that, because but then the reason was because apparently he wanted to make it more on his own, before he actually, because I suppose if he thought he worked with his brother, it's almost like he's in his film, so he's almost got the part because of that. Whereas I think, because he's been in quite a few films before this, hasn't he? He's not that massively well known, I suppose, and a lot of the films he's been in aren't that brilliant. But I think he did want to make a few films before.
It's quite interesting as well, because I think in the Disaster Artist they both got their individual characters, I think, as well. He's not just there as a secondary character sort of thing, or he's not just there kind of stuffed in the background. you know, they've both got their very kind of own sort of characters going on, and I think they work really well together. Actually, it works.
Well, I think that's why he actually took this on, because obviously they're very close as brothers, and I think when James Franco actually saw he started reading it, apparently, the book, and he knew halfway through that he thought, I want to make this into a film. He knew straight away, and he wanted him to play the main part, but he wanted his brother to play the friend.
Yeah.
And because they're very close anyway, as friends as well as brothers, he thought he really wanted his brother to take on this role.